Are you struggling with stubborn heel pain? Have you tried everything but nothing seems to work? Well, today we're going to do a deep dive behind plantar fasciitis, what it is, how it develops, and what actually works in treating it, as supported by research. Hey everyone, this is Dr. Nick, your friendly functional physical therapist, and today we're talking about plantar fasciitis. Plantar fasciitis is one of the most common causes of heel pain, and it's essentially an overuse injury caused at the plantar fascia, which is that thick band of tissue that runs from the base of the heel to the base of the toes. It's caused by things like too much stress. So if you're running for prolonged periods of time, if you're standing all day long, or if you suddenly increase your activity levels, you're gonna feel it. If you have poor biomechanics facilitated by flat feet or high arches or poor movement patterns, if you might be a little bit overweight, obese, and you're on your feet for an excessive amount of time, or you have really poor footwear choices like sandals and flip-flops and things that don't have any sort of arch support at all. So what do people do to treat it? Well, they throw every possible treatment at it that they can. And some things produce some results, other things produce no results. And in the end, you're left with this chronic issue that just leaves you debilitated. So let's debunk some of those myths. What are some popular methods of treatment? Well, number one, Botox injections. Okay, so the theory there, we inject some Botox, helps relax the musculature, which reduces the tension at the plantar fascia and alleviates some symptoms. That sounds promising, right? The research really doesn't support that. So some studies show some mild relief, but other studies don't. So the research is kind of inconsistent, and plus Botox isn't really a first line of treatment, so not something to bet on in my opinion. Next mode of treatment, PRP. Okay, so the theory there, inject a concentrated dose of your own platelets into that area to help promote healing. Sounds great. The science? Some studies show some short-term relief, but realistically, the long-term benefits are really unclear, and the PRP efficacy changes based on how it's actually prepared. So it's not really reliable because things aren't done the same way across the board. So again, not something to put our money on. Next, let's talk about prolotherapy. Oh, that sounds fun. What's going on there? So the idea is that you're injecting an irritant into the area, which then is going to stimulate a response to then facilitate healing. Okay, that sounds great, but if the area is already irritated, why do we need additional irritation to do anything there? The reality is there's very little evidence to support that this type of treatment works with plantar fasciitis. So this is one of those ones that I would really pump the brakes on, because you could just make things worse. Another popular method of treatment, dry needling. Okay, so sticking a needle into that area is gonna help reduce that muscular tension, promote blood flow, facilitate healing. Sounds great, right? I mean, the research is very limited in terms of dry needling the plantar fascia. Me personally, I'm not behind that, just because the plantar fascia itself is non-contractile, right? It's a ligament. It can stretch based on necessity, but it isn't doing much itself in terms of contraction. So the idea is that we have tight tissue in that area that can be released with dry needling, to me, doesn't hold a whole lot of water. So it's something that can feel good with neighboring tissue. If we're hitting some things down in the the lower calf musculature, sure, great. But in terms of the actual plantar fascia, I don't think it's going to be the most bang for your buck. But hey, you can do it in conjunction with other therapies. Okay, now that we got all that stuff out of the way, let's talk about what actually works. What is going to give you some relief? Plantar fasciitis, like many issues that originate in our body, is caused by weakness facilitating tightness. Don't get that confused. Okay, a lot of people out there are just stretch. No, stretching without strengthening, I don't want to call it a waste of time. It's a waste of time. We have to fix the muscular imbalances that cause this tightness to begin. Okay, one of the first exercises I'm gonna do is towel scrunching. What I need to develop is the intrinsic musculature of my foot. I'm gonna lay a towel down, and now all I'm gonna do is try and curl that towel towards my foot. And I can do this for 10 to 15 repetitions, for 1 to 2 sets, 2 to 3 times a day. Exercise number 2, doing more for our intrinsic musculature of our foot. We're gonna do doming. So essentially what we're doing is attempting to pull the tissue from the base of our foot to the base of our heel, activate that, and facilitate an arch of our foot. And I wanna do that without pushing my toes down into the ground. So I'm independently creating that arch without pushing my toes down. This is probably one of the most frustrating exercises to learn how to do. But very similarly, I can do this for 10 to 20 repetitions, for 1 to 2 sets, and I can do this 2 to 3 times a day. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure we have a good, strong medial arch, right? That arch on the inside of our foot. That is facilitated by our posterior tibialis, which originates up here on the fibula and inserts down here onto the superior aspect of the navicular bone. If you have flat feet and you're working with someone about it and they're not doing this exercise or something like this to activate that posterior tibialis, you're missing out on so much. So this muscle does plantar flexion and inversion at the same time. So it goes down and in. So one of the ways we can do that is sitting in a chair. I can use like a towel, a pillow, this volleyball, for example. I'm gonna try and click my heels together. So I'm pushing my heels inward. And at the same time, I'm gonna try and go up on my toes. And I feel that muscle firing right now. And I'm gonna do this just like everything else, 1 to 2 sets, 10 to 15 repetitions, 1 to 3 times a day, and try and get that muscle firing to get that arch in a better position. Now we can introduce some stretching into the program. So sitting down, cross one leg up over the other, grab just behind my toes. I'm gonna stabilize here at my heel, and I'm gonna pull my toes back. That's gonna create a nice good stretch through that plantar fascia. I'm gonna hold this anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds. Then I can relax, and I can repeat that 3 to 5 times in a sitting and try and do that 2 to 3 times a day. Now, because tight calf musculature is going to put more tension on that plantar fascia, we have to move up the kinetic chain and stretch those muscles too. So I like to do this dynamically. I have a wedge here down on the ground. I'm going to place my affected leg on that wedge, and I'm going to use a wall for support. I'm going to take a step forward, shift my body weight onto that front leg, feeling that big stretch there in my calf, and then I can come right back. Because I'm doing this dynamically, I'm not gonna hold that for more than 3 to 5 seconds. And I'm gonna try and do that 10 to 15 times, and I can do that 2 to 3 times a day. And as a bonus, let's talk about footwear. Please stop wearing flip-flops, sandals, those stylish shoes with just flat soles. They are doing you no favors when it comes to your plantar fasciitis or your hips, knees, lower back. All these things could be coming from how you're distributing weight into your feet. So I generally recommend, and I have no affiliation with either of these companies, Brooks preferably, because I feel like they have much better arch support and they are more durable, or Hoka's, which are a little bit better when it comes to like impact absorption and like activities, although I feel like they break down a little bit quicker. But those two shoes are going to give you the most bang for your buck when it comes to your feet. So if you want to fix your plantar fasciitis, listen to what was said in this video. Skip the gimmicks. Anyone trying to sell you a quick relief of, and this goes for anything in the human body, a quick relief of your pain, they are leeching off of your fear of chronic pain. There are no quick fixes. You have to do the appropriate strengthening. You have to do the appropriate stretching, okay? Let me know in the comments down below. Have you tried this stuff before? What worked? What didn't work? Let's talk about it and figure out what works best for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more clinically supported and research-backed rehabilitation tips. As always, this is Dr. Nick, your friendly functional physical therapist, saying stay active, stay healthy, and hopefully I don't have to see you.